Living on the reserve, growing up, I learned a lot from my grandmother, who taught me a lot. She taught me about our Haisla culture as well as our Tsimshian culture. I'm still learning the ways of the Tsimshian people, which is where my grandmother comes from, as well as her mother.
I would say helping people get to know the history of our people, especially when it comes to like residential school, Indian day school. Our cultural languages, dances, other teachings. Hello, my name is Alex.
Youth Nugwa, Roberta Grant, well known as Bobby Grant. Wah.
Youth Nugwa, Emily from Haisla Nation. Nakwa, Nugwa, Noreen, Gray.
Name is Nina Shah. I'm from Haisla Tsimshian ancestry, and my traditional name is Wibachwan. I'm from the Killer Whale clan. There's a lot of learning to do, learning about our traditional ways, and that's one of the things that I am fortunate that I've got that behind me. I'm still learning. I still learn. I always say I still learn from our elders, especially with our feast system, and right now being part of our language program that we have going here in our community. I grew up being spoken to in Haisla, but I can't speak it fluently. And but I understand when elders speak to me in our traditional Haisla language.
What is something about living on a reserve that you want people to know about?
Like how hard it is to get housing, and the struggles on like the languages and stuff. We want to bring back the languages for the young people.
Well, first of all, it's lack of housing, lack of doctors and nurses right now. I think all over everybody's struggling with lack of nurses and doctors and the help that we need. Wow.
What is life like living on a reserve?
Honestly, I love it.
I love it.
I absolutely love it because we all pull together when we're mourning, when a new bundle of joy comes into a wedding. We're all one big family. And I absolutely love living on the reserve. I'm taught by an elder. I was taught by an elder, and I'm an elder myself now, for all the things that I do for our community.
Especially being surrounded by lots and lots of family.
At first, when we lived down in Vancouver for a couple of years with our son, and it was my wife that came to me and said that we're moving, and I thought we were moving to a different part in Vancouver, and she said, no, we're moving here. And then that was the best decision we ever made, although we do have family down in Vancouver that we miss. But it was the best choice that we made for our son.
What is it like living on a reserve? Growing up, it was kind of hard because you're living, like I say, you're living in two worlds. You're living in a European way. You're also having to live, growing up, learning our cultural ways, our traditional ways, and trying to adapt it to the European way. You know, it's I've seen a lot of changes. We we used to be a matrilineal family, but those days have changed along the ways, including our ways growing up. We used to always be out there helping each other, knowing that our ways will be helping each other. It always comes back to you. Nowadays, we do have we still do go out there and we help each other no matter what we do, but still we still see ways that have been changed along the way. Like I said, European ways, trying to adapt to that. I find it hard for me growing up in our community.
Is there something you wish was more accessible?
Funding for healthcare, especially for the elders and our youth.
Yes, doctors and nurses.
More opportunities for transportation. That a lot of low-income people that don't have access to vehicles like taxis, it costs a lot to get from here to into townside.
What one of the things that I wish that we had more accessible in our community is more programs, especially for the elders and our young children, to become more aware and involved in our Haisla traditional ways, our Haisla language. Because I know, like, I've said this before amongst our anybody that would listen to me, our young children, and it's good to see that it's been shared within, starting from daycare, is our traditional language, but there could be more involvement in getting the elders to go and share stories amongst our children.
What challenges do you face living on a reserve?
I would say lack of housing. Like, there are houses being built, but it's just a matter of when everything's going to be completed and how many more houses can actually be built around here.
It's quite common that the kids move back in with their parents because of the housing and the prices of the rent everywhere. People are price gouging for a townhouse in town that me and my older sister used to rent was once $300, and now it's almost $3,000.
I've seen it within our community. The one challenge is being out there really assisting elders where they really need assistance, especially with our housing. Our housing is the main, like, once we've paid off our home, any repairs that we need, that's our responsibility. And yet we've done our share and not just us today as the younger elders, but so many of our elders today. I see that a lot of them struggle with getting any type of assistance. The other one that I see is with medical. Medical, when we travel, I was just speaking to one of our young ones who who has to travel back and forth to Vancouver. It's sad where First Nations Health Authority has really taken, to me it seems, they've taken that role in needing to know exactly why a person needs an escort. That shouldn't be. They really shouldn't question that. It should be just, we'll help you. We'll help you in any way we can. My heart just went out to this young person today that shared with me. They were glad that they came home for a bit, but they will have to be traveling back down again for more medical assistance down in out of town. It should never be a question. We should be helped either way. You know, instead of us having to try and fundraise so that we can be down there. It's not that we're going to be traveling all over the place, but for them to get the assistance, especially with escort services.
What are some challenges you faced while living on a reserve?
Some challenges. Because I grew up in the city, like in Vancouver, I was born and raised. I wasn't born on reserve. My dad's from here. Getting to know the language and getting to know your relatives all over. So I've been up here for 10 years now, and it still till this day is really challenging for me to understand like who's who, and like greeting certain people. Like some people, like when you walk into a room, you'll say "Yo," that means hello in Haisla. And when you enter a feast hall, you have to know how to be. You have to know how to act and how to sit down and be appropriate.
Is there anything you wish to change?
Yes, our healthcare and more friendly people. After COVID hit us, we were all apart from one another, and it's still hard today to connect to one another. Some people don't connect to one another right now, hugging, we're hugging people, and yeah.
I would say bringing back the languages so that more of our youth and our young people can be able to communicate, especially with the elders.
Just the only thing that I can think of is a bigger hall. So everybody, all our people that can gather instead of having different community dinners. Example, for Christmas, there's Rupert Terrace, Kitamaat, Vancouver. Like for town, people can come here instead of having it separated. No. Because they used to do that long ago. But now our community has expanded with the band members, and it's quite tough to try to fit everybody in that gymnasium.
The only thing that I wish that would change, but I know it's impossible in today's society, is respecting what goes on here in the community, especially when there's a death. The one thing I think we need to really look at is the continuing working together in our community, and helping those that if we're able to afford it, go out and help them.
The bus service for here too.
Good.
More often for the buses to come over.
Is there anything you'd like to share about your culture/traditions?
I love our culture. I love learning new things. I learn something new every day, even though I'm an elder. I tried the language, Haisla Nation, but I couldn't do it. But I honestly believe the young ones can do it, because there is teachers out there that are teaching our Haisla Nation language.
Honestly, I never really knew that much myself personally about my culture, so I wouldn't really have much idea.
Mainly the feast system. I speak for our killer whale fish clan only, because we do have the beaver raven and the eagle clan, but I'm only speaking up as killer whales and our fish clan. It's so good to see that our young people are starting to come and become more involved. And the last few feasts, we've really been fortunate enough where we've had our young people, just out there and doing what needs to be done. Like when we asked for donations for cakes and the buns, our killer whale fish clan, they also, it's overwhelming to see. I believe the last one that we had, our last feast that we had, we had so many donations, and like one of the things that we're always told is do not say no, we've got enough, and we ask for say 24 cakes to be donated. If we get 30, 35 cakes, that's more than enough. We don't say no. We don't say no. You never refuse any more help or any of the donations that come forward, and that's one of the things that we've been fortunate enough to have. One of the things I always say to Bobby and to Anne, my daughter, and now my granddaughter, is there may be a day when I'm not going to be there to help. There may be a day that I might be out of town, or anything can happen, and that's the reason I'm so fortunate with Bobby and Anne, my daughter. And just lately I've been talking to my granddaughter that she really needs to start stepping up, because she's the next in line. She's the successor for my late mother, and that's what she'll be carrying on, my late mother's name. And I reminded her that my late mum, I said, you know yourself, Mum was always involved in our killer whale fish clan, and that's where I learned a lot from. I learned a lot from not only my grandmother. One of the things that I used to, as a young girl, I used to, I guess you can say I took offense to the elders when they would say to me, Hayamots, Berry Hall, that's my grandmother's name, Shadow of Mary Hall, because I was always with my grandmother wherever she went. As soon as I'd see her getting ready to go out the door, I used to go and put my jacket on, my boots or my shoes, and just go with her. She never used to say, no, you need to stay home, unless she was going to a home where there was a death in the community. But she used to always tell me, you can come with me, but you need to sit and be quiet. So I did that just because I needed to be with my grandmother, and I'm so fortunate that I was one of them that that was able to do that, and that's where I learned a lot from.
I like how we do our griefs and how they call it up here Haisla Gold. So actually it's really like there's only a certain season that you're allowed to catch the oolakins. So and then you it's a long process, and I like doing canning the fish, preparing it for canning, like gutting. I like dried. This is the Haisla Gold, and it's oolakin grease, and it takes a long time to just ferment it. It has to ferment for maybe I think 5 days, and then you boil it, and then you boil it you have this big thing, like a big container. You have fire underneath it, and then you put all your fermented oolakin grease or oolakins in there, and you boil it. You start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you do it all day at one boil, and you do how many you let the grease come to the top, and then you skim it, and then you put it in a bucket, and then you put it on a stove and prepare it again, warm it up, and then you end up with a jar like this. You freeze it, and it goes on anything. It goes on rice, it goes on your fish, it goes on your potatoes, it goes on seaweed. I guess you have to have a taste for it to have that kind of those. It's that you have to have a taste for it to see if you guys like it and stuff. I love it, and if you're really sick, you just take 1 teaspoon of that, and it clears it right out. I love that everybody's trying to bring back our language, the regalias, the vests, all of that stuff, and drumming and singing, because it was stripped from us years ago. Years ago it was taken from us, and the reason why I know is because I was part of Indian day school, and it's tough to relearn how to love, because that was taken from me.
How do government policies affect your day-to-day life?
We're getting our culture back, we're getting our language back, which was all taken away from us in the day. I never went through residential school, but I learned a lot about it, and it's very heartbreaking when you hear a family member talk about the way we were treated, the way they took away our regalias and burnt them. Now they have no say in what we do, and we're going back to our culture.
Lack of funds. Lack of funds, because there's a lot of kids that want to go out there and play sports and for their education, but it's not there. It's not there for them. And it's up to the parents to try and make fundraisers for them. And it gets stressful for them. I see it. Because there's quite a few of our younger generation that are going for soccer, isn't it? Going away for soccer, and there's how many of them, but it costs so much and they're trying to do it by themselves.
Thinking back about it, when I was voted in on council many years ago, we were dependent on what is called in Northern Affairs Canada. We were so dependent on it, and it was hard because that's where I saw a lot of our families that really needed the help and they couldn't because of how limited our funding was. I remember back when a lot of our community members wanted to go to school, so because of only how much we received from INAC through post-secondary, back then we used to only be able to fund X amount of students. So a lot of students ended up on the waiting list, which was so unfair, because we finally got our children. And I think back to the late Vina Starr. She was one of the advocates for our children needing to go forward. We have so many role models, and today, whether it was through INAC or not, today we have one of our band members, which is Dr. Jackie Green. She's got her PhD. She's mine and Bobby's. We call her our sister. We're cousins, but we call her our younger sister. I'm so proud of her. She came a long way, and she continued, and a lot of it was through the support of our aunt and our Uncle Ray and Auntie Mary, who supported her when she went back to school, and she received her bachelor's degree. She went on to her master's and went on to her PhD. Her PhD, her graduation was held here in our community. And that is one of the things I really, like I said, it was always an issue back then. And now you see so many of our young people. There's other young ones, and I'll mention his name that I really take pride in, and that's Brendan Grant. He knew what he wanted, and he continued to strive to where he is today. He's got his master's degree. But that was one of the things that government policy kept us back from. Another one is housing. For many years now, we haven't been able to have what we call social homes. But it's thankful that with our own source revenue that we're able to build, like the apartment building that we have today, the duplexes that we have today, so that some of our members can start coming back home. It's hopefully down the road that they will either through themselves as parents or as grandparents start working with their child and teaching them our language and culture, because it was taken away from us, with the Elizabeth Long Memorial Home that started here in our community, and then it went on to residential school. and then the boarding school, and then the 60 scoop. You know, a lot of that had an impact because it was through the government that took that away from all First Nations. But I think back, and that those are some of the things I've been sharing with my oldest granddaughter. She's wanting to really know more about what really happened within our families. So, yeah.
And what does language mean to you?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. It's everything. And the bands. We need the I'd rather have the language brought back for the younger generation, and to have like our elders be the fluent speakers.
It means a lot to me. I had my heart set on learning it, but I only made it up to grade 8, didn't even finish. So it was very hard for me to learn. I took it for a year and I learned a few, but it means a lot to me, and I hope and pray that all these young ones pick it up before our elders leave us.
It brings more meaning to our ancestors who fought to get us where we're at today.
We need to bring it back for our children, our grandchildren, the future of our children, of our community. You see so many, and I always have so much pride when I see a lot of our young people in other communities that are able to get up and speak their language. And I always, that was always my dream. One day, hopefully one day my great-grandson will be able to do that. Doesn't matter where he goes. But right now, we have I was asked to start working with the staff at the daycare center, and to see the interest that they have makes me know that we are starting to go in the right direction. Hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to get other staff workers that are interested, so that they can. I know I see of course on Facebook, I see some parents say, I sure wish I could learn. Well, now's the time to start learning with your child, because it's taught at the daycare center.
What is the best part to you about living in Kitamaat?
Family and friends.
Family and friends, and the strength that we get from each other.
Hey.
It doesn't matter what kind of gathering it is. Haislas uphold each other.
Again, being surrounded by lots and lots of family, having those connections and people to lean on, especially when the community ends up coming together.
We're all family, and my dad was born and raised here, but I was born and raised in Vancouver. Mostly family is like, we're pretty much related to everybody.
Yeah.
Would you mind teaching us a couple of words in your language?
Would you? Okay. Yaut naina kila sunukwa. Geklan skimot agach. Hede Sarah Watley abo hunt.
Nugwa Wahla.
Eiksnakwa means good morning, and Yaut means hello. And there's one sentence that I learned when I tried to take Haisla Ella, and it's so funny because it says Eikuya Panstutisa, do you have any news for me?
We say Yaut, and that means hi. Escuelas means see you.
What is something that you wish more people knew about the Haisla Nation and or Kitamaat?
I would say more teachings about the history of like residential school, Indian day school, and things that used to happen to our people when they were taken away from their families. That way people have a better understanding of like the generational traumas and how different people cope and deal.
How to respect the what is that called? Milieu?
And just the language again.
That we all help one another in time of need, good, bad, sad, happy. We all get together and support family when needed. We don't have to be asked, we just put it out there, and that's what I love about our people. What?
That we love everybody. We love everybody. We welcome anybody that comes our way.